Hola amigos de Gamer Style, estamos aquí con Wong, director de arte justamente de juegos como Far Cry 4 y 5, que hoy le vamos a hacer algunas preguntitas acerca de este juego, de lo que viene, que ya en febrero sale, así que ya tenemos que estar bien al pendiente, porque pues, creo que hay varios fans ahí de la serie, entonces vamos a empezar. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
How is your experience here in Pixelato? How is going all here in Mexico?
So it's my first time in Mexico, so I honestly didn't know what to expect. But it's been super cool meeting just different game developers, artists, students, professionals, and hearing about what they're working on and how they're doing. And so yeah, it's been really eye-opening, I think.
We want to know about Far Cry, just this game that you are releasing. How do you feel, or how did you do all this concept? We see the trailer. In the trailer, you see that there are a lot of details, painting the walls, photos in the houses, a classic American house. How did you do all this concept? How did you study all this to create this new world, this open world?
So with Far Cry 5, when we tried to build a world, we looked at Montana. That's where the game is set. So it's the first time Far Cry has gone to a real location. What's cool about that is we can go to these actual locations, we can take a bunch of reference photographs and videos. So we looked at, my expertise is in visual identity, graphic design. So I'm interested in the signage and trying to capture the realistic feeling of what that is in real life and bringing that back into the game. So when you see the trailer, you see hints of that. You see even the emblem that we use. We try to make it feel believable.
We see in the talk that you go to Fire Tree. That's what I think that you were mentioned. How do you capture this moment? Do you go in a touristic tour? Do you go free to take the photos to see the places that you think that are important for your creations?
So it's kind of like a mix of both. So we gather a bunch of people from different backgrounds, different job specifications. We take game designers and people sometimes even dev testers get to go and just turn up, and they get to experience what it is actually like in locations we take inspiration from. So we do two things. One is sometimes we work with a production company. They'll be able to get an idea of the locations, give us a clear schedule, tell us people who we can meet, who will help us get an idea of what that place is like. What do they artistically, what do they wear? What do they sound like? What's the accent like? What is the surroundings like? What are the trees like? What type of trees do they have? What are the animals, the wildlife like? So there's this huge list, and it's something you can only really get from going there in person.
Okay, about these new characters that you are creating, Grace, this badass American girl, Bloomer, we love the dog. It's a classic American dog, but it's wild. It's wild at the moment of attack. How did you create these characters? How did you see? This one have to have a jacket. This one needs this thing that it's more badass. It's more bad.
So I'm not sure the best person to answer that, but for me, when I think about the characters, even we have the pet dog Boomer, we go through so many iterations. We have a huge concept team. We have script writers who can write about the dog, and they can give details. And then a concept artist can come in and be like, oh, maybe it could look like this. And then someone else would be like, oh yeah, I really like this and like this. And then we do focus testing as well, and we try and get an idea of if there's a Far Cry game set in America, and there's a dog, what kind of dog do people actually want to play with? What's one that makes sense in terms of the location? And what we end up with is Boomer. And it's super cool. I play all the time. I always play with Boomer. Actually, I love dogs, so I'm pretty simple. Take Boomer and I just go and take an outpost, and he's my best bud. Super.
There were a lot of people telling about that the themes about politics and religions, they are a little scary for the companies. How do you see this? I think that the creation of art that you make were a lot in this fact of the religion. How do you think, or how do you your opinion about that thing?
So as much as we base Far Cry 5 on a real location, at the end of the day, it's a video game, and we can choose what we want to put in the game. And we're very sensitive about the types of things we would put in. Because at the end of the day, we want to make a game that's fun. We want it to be believable, but we also don't want to, I don't know, put someone off the game. So we're very like sensitive about that kind of stuff. What works well is just, I don't know, like we gather as much reference as we can, like it, and it shows inside the world. Yeah, I think so.
About your photos, we see your photos of Tokyo. They are incredible. My only idea was I wanted to go to Tokyo.
Yeah.
How did you do these photos? Do you go only with your camera and to the city? Do you go with your equipment of photograph? How did you do, or how did you see this image and put them in the camera?
So I basically had an idea and I wanted to. I bought a camera. I didn't have a DSLR before, and the first time I used it was with my Tokyo pictures. And I just spent like hours on the streets just trying to take pictures of stuff that I found interesting. And I kind of used my video game background to take compositions and shots that would feel like a video game. And when I colored them, like I used some fancy gadgets and stuff when I take the pictures. I also use Photoshop and Lightroom. So I try and like bring colors and bring some life into the pictures. Because ultimately what I go for is to try and capture a real moment but make it look surreal. And then I think about something like Far Cry's, we go for the same thing. Like we talk about, we take things that exist in real life, even if it is a fictional place, because we want to show you that it's exactly what it's like. And if it's not what it's like, it's what it feels like. And we try and communicate that in a visual way.
About your talk, you talk about Hideo Kojima, working with Hideo Kojima. How it was to be in front of him, to be answering or seeing how your work was. We see your talk and we see you were very nervous in that moment.
Yeah.
But how it was the personal experience with him.
So what was really cool is I'd met him before when I worked on Far Cry 4. So he remembered me when I emailed him and I was like, can I take your picture?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, come to Tokyo, come to the studio. So I got to check out, stuff they were working on. I got to see the studio. I got to ask questions that you wouldn't normally just get to ask. So I asked him about his career, asked him about advice he would have for me, like as someone who's still kind of starting out their games career. The whole experience was like just intimidating. Like you're like stood in front of like greatness. He's made some of the best games of all time. And it kind of comes from one person. He makes a team that builds it, but without that person, I imagine how many people wouldn't work on video games. Like, and I think it was like when I met Yves, who's Yves Guillemot, the Ubisoft like founder, and I'm stood in front of him, and I'm like, everyone around you would not exist if you didn't make that company. And I just had that same feeling. You're just aware of it the whole time. Of like, I don't know, it's overwhelming.
Okay. About the you were in the list of Forbes, 30 under 30. How is you are very young?
Yep.
How is to be very young, very recognized, and the people recognize your work? They are not only you're in Forbes. No, they recognize your work. How does it feel? How is a personal satisfaction of this thing?
I don't know if it's like a personal satisfaction. I find it like really, I say like overwhelming, because you do, let's say you have one thing and it goes really well, all these eyes are on you of like, well, what are you going to do next? And is it going to be as good as what you just made? So to me, I'm like a firm believer in like, you're only as good as the last thing that you worked on. Like, and that to me just sticks in my mind. But it gives me motivation to be like, I'm going to make whatever I do better. And that could be something as simple as a piece of artwork, or it could be a game. And it could be, you have to bring like your A game every day. So when I got that, on one side, super, it's a cool thing to have, but it's like overwhelming. So many eyes on you to like succeed, and all I can think of in my head is just failing. Like,
it's your work. It's something I compete. No? About your experience here in Mexico, we have 5 little questions. That way, the gamer fans, we want to know, what's your favorite game?
You mentioned Mexico. My favorite game is Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, okay.
So I like joke to different people. It's my second time in Mexico, because the first time I went was in Red Dead Redemption. One of the best moments I've ever felt in a video game, when the music kicks in and you're just on your horse and you feel the world. Like my favorite game is probably that. Ubisoft game, Far Cry, is why I wanted to work in the games. Like, I love those games, and that's why I had that kind of passion to work on it.
Do you have time to go around Mexico to New Mexico?
No, I purposely took an extra couple of days so that I could check out Mexico. I didn't want to just turn up and exist in a conference or
Yeah.
in like a little bubble. Like I still want to go and just get like a taco on the street
Yeah.
from like
The
some
food.
old woman who knows how to make the best tacos. Like I want that experience. I want to walk around the streets. Like I've loved the architecture. I love the color palettes. Like I was just walking around the streets here, and there's like people like repainting the buildings, and like it's a place I've never seen before, and like because of that, I leave like inspired.
If you have the opportunity, do you will do some work like your photograph here in Mexico, and maybe we will see in the future in a game, for example?
Not sure about a game. Like I brought my camera, so I want to take pictures.
Okay.
It's been raining a lot, and I love rain, so I'm gonna go out probably in Mexico City. I'm gonna take pictures, and I'm sure I'll come back and take more pictures. Like to me, it's just like a super interesting place, and I've actually not seen it in enough video games, and I think that's something that I would love to see change. Like seeing in my favorite video game, I was like, wow, it's the place I want to go to, and there's just so much history and culture, and I don't know, the
Yeah.
music, and you know what I mean, just like all of that stuff. It's like I want to experience that in a video game even more. Like it's how I'd feel about even like my hometown.
Okay, returning to Far Cry, what's your favorite visual element that you think that it will be the best? The thing that you place more time to do, the thing that you work most.
I think I worked on most. So I focus on like visual identity. So I think about like Far Cry 4. It's the Ubisoft logo. So when we first showed the game ever, it's at E3. It's on the huge screen. There's like millions of people watching. And from a black screen, you transition into a Ubisoft logo. And it's the first impression. And when people see it, they need to be like, oh my God, this is the new Far Cry. And that's exactly what it did. And I was watching it on Twitch. So I see all the comments just spamming. People are like, it's Far Cry, it's Far Cry. Oh, it must be set here. You have the opening establishing shot. I had the typography that was like a traditional script. And people go like, oh, it's here. And then you see the characters coming in. And then you see like the villain. And then so it all kind of comes together. So to me, it's like in the stuff that I do, the biggest thing is always just that first glance of what is this? And trying to compact it all into one single visual.
Okay. For the end of the interview, something that you want to tell to your Mexican fans here in Mexico?
I don't know, like thanks for having me in your beautiful country. Like I'd never been, so it was just cool to see it. I met a lot of game developers, and I think if there's someone watching and if there's people reading stuff, support your local game developers. Like look up their work, play their games, download their games, share their stuff on Facebook and every platform, because you want your community to grow. Like you want Mexico to be on the map.
Thank you a lot, and we hope you taste the tacos here in Cuernavaca. Thanks a lot. Amigos de Gamer Style, ya lo oyeron. Nos estamos viendo próximamente. No se pierdan las entrevistas y no dejen de jugar Far Cry 5, que está bastante bueno. Se ve impresionante. Yo ayer estaba viendo el tráiler, la verdad estaba ya emocionado por jugarlo. Así que no dejen de jugarlo y sigan aquí en Gamer Style.